The first principle, and indeed in karate, the first great principle, Tokyoko, is the red belt. And the first great principle in karate is to master some basic moves. The first great principle in surgery is posture. You need to understand your posture because it's going to be crucial to your health and well-being, reducing fatigue, musculoskeletal injury, wear and tear. 20 years of cardiac surgery, and I have a plate in my neck at C5, C6. What you need to understand is if you do not address your posture, you'll find that the movement of your upper limb is compromised. Firstly, by way of analogy, and to introduce you to the fundamental basic tool that you have in your home to help you practicing, is the concept of ironing. Now, you wouldn't iron down at that level. And the first thing you do when picking up an iron is adjust the height of an ironing board. And the height of the ironing board is adjusted such that your shoulders are relaxed, your elbows by either side, your elbows are slightly extended, and your wrists are palmar flexed. And in doing so, you effectively then isolate the hand from interruption of all the major muscles in the forearm. This posture alone will ensure that your movement of your hands and wrists become relaxed and fluid, but more importantly, you start to use the intrinsic muscles of your hand and thereby cultivate a lightness of touch in your surgery. Posture is important, and as I stand here, you'll see my elbows at the side and my forearm is extended at the elbow. And this angle that I'm demonstrating here is important to understand when we come to mounting our needle and using it in the next lessons. There's a second part to the red belt. The second fundamental principle of operating is respect of the surgical instrument and understanding how and why you use the instrument. We'll be focusing in the first series on stitching and therefore the use of the needle holder. I have here a rider needle holder, and before I demonstrate its use, I want to show you how the functional anatomy of the upper limb enables you to carry out everyday tasks. I'm picking up a screwdriver here, and if I hold it towards you, you'll note as I pronate and supinate my arm that the tip of the screwdriver remains steady. What is beautiful about the upper limb is that this pronation and supination can occur at every position. You know that because you've used screwdrivers to reach in to those awkward places to put screws. Whether it's up, down, and awkward angles, the shoulder presents the elbow in the right position to enable you to do a perfect pronation, supination. And the idea behind stitching is that you take the needle perfectly through the tissue on the circle on which it's designed. Enabled to do that, you need to align your instrument with the rotational axis of the forearm, and that is between the common flexor origin and the index and middle fingers. So if you place your needle holder on your hand along that alignment and then flex your fourth and fifth finger over the ring, you are now holding the needle holder in the form of a benediction sign. You'll note that I can now maintain rotation. And by way of example, I'm going to demonstrate this improvement. Many people put their fingers through the needle holder. And if I'm holding the needle holder toward you with a straw in the needle holder, that is full pronation, and you can watch the angle yourself all the way round to there. You'll also notice that the tip of the needle holder moved round itself. Whereas if I now hold it, as I described, along the line of axis of the forearm, and I point it towards you, you'll see that's pronation, and let's go all the way around, and that's supination, that the rotation of my forearm is improved. But not only that, the tip of the needle holder is not moving. And this is fundamental skill to learn, to enable you to rotate the needle cleanly through the tissues. So we understand how to hold a needle holder to improve the rotation along the axis between the common flexor origin and the index and middle fingers. But what needs practice now, as part of your red belt grade, is understanding how to take the needle on and off the ratchet. And that is easily done by using the thumb of thenar eminence to unlock. See, I'm effectively using my adductor pollicis brevis and putting it on. Now, appreciated, my hand is somewhat bigger than most, but this is a skill that all of you can master with practice. So I would recommend that you get a needle holder, put it in your pocket, and on a regular basis practice simply doing that to unlock. You see that my fourth and fifth fingers are holding the ring steady in the palm of my hand, enabling me to lock and unlock. So if I pass you in the corridor at any stage and ask, "How are you today?" I would like to hear this lovely chirping sound of you being able to lock and unlock. Vlad in Romania recently sent me a text to say that he's learnt the skill, and in a recent surgery on a traumatic finger commented that he found the rotation and use of the instrument was a lot easier. Of course, palming your instrument makes it easier to put it down and to pick it up and to pass it. Whereas if you got your fingers through, that is now delayed and possibly stuck on your finger. And if somebody takes to remove it, could hurt your finger or thumb. I hope you enjoy the practice. Let us examine how you hold the needle holder close up. This is a fundamental red belt skill. We have lined the needle holder along a line of axis between the index and middle finger and the common flexor origin. I fold my ring finger and fifth finger over the ring of the right needle holder. I have my index finger extended down the needle holder, and you'll note that the palps of my fingers are applied to the instrument. All of these are giving me the necessary proprioception and feel of the instrument, because it is only when you understand that your instrument is an extension of your fingers, and therefore you need to apply the lightness of touch, will you develop that lightness of touch described by Lloyd Barclay Moynihan as having the ability to caress tissues and not being merely a hewer of flesh. To take the instrument on and off, I'm using my adductor pollicis and literally spring the ratchet by abducting my thumb. Whether it's abduction or opponent's pollicis, you can see it's the intrinsic muscles of my thenar eminence that are pushing the needle off. And I'm using my thumb to reapply the ratchet. Holding the instrument this way gives me the ability to put it down, to pick it up, and I'm able to maximize the rotation of the needle holder no matter what position my upper limb, shoulder and elbow is in. As a junior surgeon, it took me probably 3 or 4 weeks to learn the skill with a needle holder in my pocket. In the Black Belt Academy of Surgical Skills, if you want to get your red belt, you need to understand the ergonomics of surgery. Adjust the table height. This is an ironing board. Palm your instrument and be able to take your needle on and off. As in my journey in karate, if you do not attend to this basic, even at your black belt gradings, you will not pass, because essentially you haven't attended to the basics.